Dear friends, dear children of the world who are now older than I ever dreamed I would become. If you are hearing this, it means my stubborn old body finally won the argument and kept me from flying to Oslo today. Please forgive me. My doctors say the journey would be unwise, and at 96 one learns slowly to listen to people who still have more birthdays ahead of them than behind. They tell me I am to receive the Nobel Peace Prize. I laugh because the little girl who once hid in 4 small rooms would have thought this the wildest fairy tale anyone could invent. And yet, here we are. They also told me I should speak about the road ahead of us. So I will. I have walked a very strange road. A road that was never supposed to exist. In the other timeline, the road ended on a railway platform in 1944 and again in Bergen-Belsen in the cold spring of 1945. In this timeline, our timeline, the door of the bookcase opened in August 1944, just in time. Meep pressed the diary into my shaking hands and whispered, "Run, Enel, run." I ran. We all ran. And because we ran, I am still running. Slowly now, with a cane, but still running toward tomorrow. I learned early that tomorrow is not guaranteed to anyone. That is why I've spent 81 extra years trying to hand it carefully, lovingly to other people. Some of the kindest traveling companions on this road have been women and men you know by their legends. Betty Friedan, my soul sister from Pyria, and I used to sit up all night in her New York kitchen in the 1960s, drinking terrible coffee while she pounded out the next chapter of what became the second wave of freedom for women. She would read sentences aloud and say, "Anne, does this sound too angry?" And I would answer, "Darling, the world is angry. We are only honest." Jacqueline Kennedy, quiet, steel-wrapped elegance, invited me to the White House in 1963, the week before Dallas. We walked the South Lawn while the children played. She said, "You write so fearlessly about hope, and teach me." I told her hope is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to keep talking after the fear. 3 weeks later, I held her hand at Arlington while the world cracked open again. And Vladimir Horowitz, Vladia, my fellow Frankfurt child of the same tribe, born 1 year before me, in 1986, when he returned to Moscow after 62 years of exile, he insisted a 57-year-old journalist with a bad hip come to him. We sat in the empty conservatory hall after the concert, and he played the slow movement of the Moonlight Sonata so softly I could hear both of us crying. "We survived, Anushka," he whispered. "Now we must make the survival worth something." I have one memory I treasure like contraband. In the spring of 2009, President Martin Luther King Jr., yes, in this long, strange grace note of history, the Reverend became the first Black president in 2008. Invited me to the White House residence, not for a state dinner, but for a private interview for my newspaper. We sat in the treaty room until dawn. At one point, he leaned back looked out the Washington Monument glowing in the night and said, "Miss Anne, you and I both know what it feels like when the world decides you are not human. Tell the young ones the secret." I answered, "The secret is, keep talking to the executioner until he remembers he is also human. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it is too late. But it is the only road that ever leads anywhere worth going." Time magazine made me Person of the Year in 1975. Me on the cover at 46, still looking startled. The headline read, "The Girl Who Did Not Die." I hated the headline because millions of girls and boys did die, and I have never stopped carrying their names in my mouth like smooth stones. And now, at 96, I live again in Frankfurt, 3 tram stops from the house where I was born. Some mornings I walk slowly to the river and watch the chestnut trees that line the main. They are not the same trees that stood behind the secret annex in Amsterdam, but they are cousins. When the wind moves through them, the sound is almost like the same rustle I listened to for 2 years while I tried to grow up in hiding. I still hear my father's soft snoring through the wall. I still hear Margot turning pages. I still hear my mother sigh when she thought no one could hear her longing. I miss them every day. I miss Peter's shy smile and the way he blushed when I teased him. I miss the green smell of hope that lived in that chestnut tree outside our window. The tree was cut down long ago, but I brought a cutting home to Frankfurt. It grows in my small garden now. Every spring it leaflets out, stubborn and green, refusing the verdict of history. Dear friends, the road ahead of us is made of such cuttings. It is made of every child who learns to read, of every border that becomes a bridge, of every song played in a language the singer was told to forget, of every handshake offered across an old hatred. The road is made of ordinary, stubborn, ridiculous kindness, the only force stronger than cruelty. I am tired now. My voice is giving out. But before I stop, let me say this to every girl and boy listening. You are the extra pages that were added to my diary. Write on them beautifully. Write on them bravely. And when fear comes, because it will, remember the chestnut tree that grows in my garden in Frankfurt, and the one that used to shade a hidden house in Amsterdam. Both of them say the same thing year after year. We are still here. Keep going. Thank you for this impossible honor. I accept it on behalf of the little girl I was, and on behalf of all the little girls and boys who never got to become old women and men. The road ahead is long, but oh, my dears, look how far we have already come. Shalom, salam, peace, and thank you.